Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to this Zoom session. Um, if you can confirm, if you can hear me well, to confirm kar dein. You can open your mic and tell me. Yeah, you can drop a message in the chat box. Am I audible?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम शुएब साहब।
Walaikum assalam. So obviously I'm audible. Yes, thank you. Okay. Very quickly, we'll आज की इस brief meeting में what we'll do is we'll quickly run through um, um, the terms of reference which have been published. Obviously, I hope that all of you have gone through it. And उसके बाद we want to spend more time on taking your questions. You're also advised to type and write your questions in the chat box ताकि वो हमारे पास एक हमारे रिकॉर्ड के लिए वो अवेलेबल भी हो जाए. अगर क्वेश्चंस आंसर्स के दौरान कोई ऐसी चीज़ हुई जो कि भी हमें महसूस हुआ कि वो विद इन द टर्म्स ऑफ रेफरेंस अगर वो क्लैरिटी नहीं आ रही तो उसके लिए हम एक कॉरिजेंडम भी पब्लिश कर देंगे टुगेदर विद दिस टर्म्स ऑफ रेफरेंस so that we have clarity on all of these points. And just for information, this session is being recorded ताकि हम हमारे लिए आसान हो जाए to document the discussion and all the points and make sure कि उनमें से कोई point आपका रह नहीं गया to be addressed. So this terms of reference for the selection of a training provider was published on the 3rd of September, and the deadline for submission is 12th of September by 5 p.m. At our office in hard copy. We'll come to that in a while. Hundreds of original projects for employment. Hope 87 एक ऑस्ट्रियन इदारा है पाकिस्तान में मुख्तलिफ जगहों पर हम काम कर रहे हैं. We are registered with the Ministry of Interior and we have a valid MOU. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ नेदरलैंड्स ने पिछले साल के मिड में एक कॉल फॉर प्रपोजल लॉन्च की थी माइग्रेशन एंड डिस्प्लेसमेंट ग्रांट पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क 2023 to 2028. It was a global call for proposal और पाकिस्तान के लिए जो हमने proposal submit किया था that was the only one selected and the title of the project is Best Beyond Survival Transforming the Power of Communities. It's the call for proposal and the subsequently the proposal submitted which was successful. It is around localization, targeting the uh, Afghan communities and the host communities in Pakistan. Migration and displacement, चूंकि it was a global call for proposal, इसलिए बहुत generic terminology use की गई थी call for proposal में, but in the Pakistani context, it has been specified as the Afghan refugees and the host communities in Pakistan. Um, and the problem largely has been identified in the call for proposal that a larger chunk of the funding to assist the Afghan refugees and host communities is currently with large multilateral organizations who have a good understanding of the needs, but at the same time, they are not very closely attuned to the problems faced by the communities themselves. And the communities themselves have little say in how aid is delivered to them and what kind of aid is delivered to them and under what timelines and what circumstances. And therefore, in this context, जो localization की अप्रोच हमने इस प्रोजेक्ट में प्रपोज की है, that is also builds around three factors. The availability of resources which are available to the local partners or the local in-country partners or the local communities. The quality and the quantity of that funding needs to be increased. Number two, agency or the decision making of the beneficiary communities, how and what kind of aid is provided to them. This needs to be improved. And the ways of being of the organizations is not altered or changed while they try to access these fundings. Around this, the project strategy is two-pronged. Number one is capacity building of in-country partners. These include registered NPOs, non-profit organizations, as well as unregistered, non-formal or formal groups, which can be youth groups and women groups. For the purpose of this project, they are being referred to as youth collectives and women collectives, and combined together, we refer to them as YWCs or youth and women collectives. In all, we have 10 NPOs as partners, and two YWCs will be associated with each of the NPO partner. So in all, we have 30 partners in the project. And the specific TORs are for the capacity building component of these in-country partners. That is 10 NPOs, 10 youth collectives, and 10 women collectives. The kind of and then there is the second component of direct funding, and through direct funding, the projects will be implemented in the sectors of protection, access to education and training, promoting economic development and job opportunities, and access to improved services, facilities, and information systems. The capacity strengthening of the in-country partners is focused in the first year of the project life, and which runs till March 2025. And the funding of the in-country partners will start kicking in after the first round of the capacity strengthening activities have been completed. The capacity strengthening is proposed, is based on the model which was proposed by Connolly in 2007 and which was further refined by UN Women in 2014 for the MENA region. And this toolbox is available as a footnote at the end of page number 4 of the TORs. This six capacities model is looks at building the capacities for leadership around gender, management, innovation, adaptive capacities, and action capacities. And further details of what these capacities mean, what they imply, they are all explained in detail in the UN Women tool. Coming to the deliverables, we have carried out the participatory organization capacity assessment of the NPO partners around the six capacities that I mentioned earlier. And both the capacity assessment forms can be downloaded from the links provided, as well as the preliminary training needs assessment data of the 8 ICPs can also be downloaded from the link provided. So this can give you, all of you parties the idea of where what is the current capacities of these in-country partners and what are the gaps. Around the deliverables, the first thing which we want to from the selected parties would be the training content and the modules. And for the training content and modules, first we would like to hear your methodology and your proposal for the scope and sequencing of the content. When you look at the UN Women toolbox, you will find further details of the subcategories under each of the capacities. So what we would like to see is your proposal of the scope and sequencing, whether you would like to propose some of those categories in a staggered or a stage-wise manner over time, or you would want to start with all of them all together and then go ahead. This is something which we are asking from the consultants, from the training partners, that they submit their scope and sequencing for the proposed capacities and the subcapacities. The next thing is the development of the training modules. A lot of reference materials are already available in the toolbox, and if the training providers feel that if they want to add value in any manner, or they want to propose something better, they are free to do so. But we would like to recommend that they keep as close to the subcategories and the tools which are already part of the UN Women toolbox. We would like that the training modules and the training materials are available to HOPE 87 at least 15 days before the respective batch of trainings, so that we have enough time available at hand for the necessary printing and making it available for our trainees. The printing of these training materials remains the responsibility of HOPE 87. So the training partners do not have to budget for the printing of these materials. The training delivery has to be very, very interactive and participatory. It should be very practice oriented. And at the end of each of these trainings, the participant organizations should be facilitated to draw up an action plan for the respective capacity at each of these trainings, which should contribute to the overall organizational development plans. At this point in time, the cohort sizes which we foresee are mentioned in section 5.2.1. Uh, Out of from each of the 10 nonprofit organizations, the number of participants expected to join the trainings is six. From each of the women collectives, the number of participants to join the trainings is three, and the number of participants from each of the youth collectives who will join the training is three. um, we will also try that while the women collective, as the name suggests, is going to be women only, we will try our best that the participants from the NPOs as well as the participants from the youth collectives have a fair gender balance as well. This makes the total number of trainees as 120. Um, we are proposing that these 120 participants will be divided into three groups. And our uh, wish at this time, is that all of the three groups the trainings run concurrently. For example, the leadership training is proposed from 21st of October till the 25th of October. This is the initial batch of training. So what we want to see is that the 120 people that are divided into three groups are all the three groups are trained within this time frame of 21st to 25th of October, for example. Um, at this point in time, we are open to suggestions that the each of the groups can be a combination of the participants from the NPO plus participants from the women collective and participants from the youth collective, or we are also open to this possibility that we have a separate group for the youth and women collectives and a separate group for NPOs. Also, some of the NPOs that have been selected, they are at different stages of organizational development already. Some of them, half of them are at a very startup stage. Half of them are what we categorize as a developing stage. So this mix and match of how to form these groups will be decided with the selected training partner. In section 5.2, we have given the proposed timelines where we would like to follow the timelines proposed for the first year of the project life, that is 2024 up till April or May 2025 as closely as possible. Because this is the first round of trainings, the organizations who successfully complete these batch of trainings and we see a visible progress on their organizational development plan and the action plan for each of the capacities that contribute towards the organizational development plan, then they are eligible for funding. So we would like to follow this schedule as closely as possible. I'm, leaving a bit of a caveat for any changes because, anything can happen, things that can be beyond our control. For example, Islamabad was in lockdown situation yesterday. So only in situations like that, we might change these dates only very slightly. But otherwise, we would like to follow these dates as closely as possible. At this point in time, we have planned for one capacity training for each month. Let's say, leadership in October, gender focus in November, management in December, innovative in January, action capacity in February, adaptive capacity in again in February. The reason being that March 2025 is going to be the month of Ramadan, and we don't want to do any trainings during that period. Plus, when you look at the budget format, you will find you'll see that some of the leadership and the gender trainings are happening in May. These capacities and these sequencing from 1 to 6 is only indicative. The training provider is free to propose when I'll quickly go up that in the section scope and sequencing, the training provider is free to propose the scope of and sequencing of each of these capacities vis-a-vis the subcapacities, as well as they are free to propose that a training provider wants to start with, for example, action capacity first, and then move on to, I don't know, innovative or something else. It is up to the training provider to propose the scope and sequencing of these capacities as well, and together with its justification that why do they feel that this is the best fit under this TORs. Let's say if any of the training providers suggest that they want to start with adaptive capacity first, the dates will remain locked here, that it will be still in October from 21st to 25th of October, and only the capacity instead of leadership, they might want to start with something else. Then from the second year of the project live, from April 2025 to March 2026, and subsequently for each of these of the years, these are indicative timelines that the trainings will be happening. I must have mentioned earlier that the first batch of trainings are planned for 5 days each, also quite evident from these dates and timelines that have been mentioned. And the subsequent refresher trainings for each year are going to be 3-day trainings, where some of the capacities can also be merged or clubbed together. Again, this is something, just for as an indication that, for example, leadership and management can be clubbed, but this is not set in stone. If the training provider feels that leadership needs to be clubbed together with another relevant training, you are free to propose that what would make the best mix. And we will consider that during the technical evaluation of the proposal. The timelines for the year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5 of the project life are indicative, and these can vary slightly. They can be pulled back or they can be moved ahead after joint discussions with the selected training provider and the trainees who will have to receive these trainings. At the end of each of these trainings, the training consultant would be expected to produce and submit a report for each training session within 10 days of conclusion of each of the trainings. And these reporting formats shall be jointly agreed between HOPE 87 and the training consultant. For the submission of proposals, it's a 2-stage proposal where the all of the parties are required to submit the proposals in 2 separate sealed envelopes. First of all, the technical proposal has to contain the proposed scope and sequences of the subcapacities that contribute to the overall capacities over the timelines as mentioned above. the proposed trainers for the 6 capacities for the first round of training, together with their updated CVs. The interested parties are requested to take note of the concurrent trainings proposed. So if three groups of, for example, leadership trainings are to take place simultaneously, or any mix and match though you want to propose, you need to provide the CVs of those lead trainers. Together with the part of the technical proposal, you have to submit the past experience of the applicant organization and your experience around the organizational strengthening trainings in the past. Then in a separate envelope, you will submit the financial proposals in the prescribed format, and it can also be downloaded from this link provided over here. The evaluation of the proposals, like I said, it would be a two-stage process where the technical score is will count for 70% of the overall score, and the cost proposed will contribute to 30% of the overall score, which makes the aggregate to brings the aggregate to 100%. And in 7.1, we have given the technical scoring grade. The total scoring of the technical part is 10 marks for the past experience, 10 marks for the lead trainers and facilitators or experts, then 10 marks for the co-lead trainers or facilitators, then 10 marks for alternate lead trainers. We are requesting this because, when we are looking at a very intense training program for the first year and a long-term commitment for the subsequent years, anything can happen, because of personal reasons, emergencies, or any other reason. The lead trainer may not be available for a few days or a couple of weeks. It can be anything. Therefore, we would like to see the alternate that who are the alternates trainers who may need to step in if the lead trainer is not available. Then there is 10 marks for the scope and sequencing. This makes a total of 50 marks. The organizations or the proposals that receive at least 30 marks out of this 50 marks will then be invited to make a presentation of their methodology about their scope and sequencing and what methodology of training are they going to use during the specific training sessions, etc. And 20% of the score will be based on this presentation. So 50 through a desk review and 20 marks for their presentation. This is the total 70 marks for the technical score. And then 30% marks for the cost proposed. The payment terms that we have in mind at this point in time is that after completion of each training, for example, the leadership training is proposed from the 21st and 25th of October, when the whatever is the number of groups during those that are trained during these dates, when these trainings are over, and the report has been submitted for these trainings by the consultant, then they can raise their invoice for these trainings, and the payments will be made within 15 working days of the submission of the invoice. Um, all the materials that will be produced, any training content, any training modules, presentations, etc. They will remain the intellectual property rights will remain with Hope 87 as well as the donor. The parties can submit their technical and financial proposal in hard copies at the address mentioned below, which is mentioned in section 11.2. The submission deadline is 12th of September 2024 by 5 p.m. Late submissions will not be entertained. So make sure that make sure that your proposal reaches us in time. If you are not based in Islamabad and if you have to submit us the proposal through a courier, please take note of the deadline. Um, Dispatch it through urgent courier or dispatch it ahead of well in time so that it reaches our office by 12th of September by 5 p.m. The dispatch date will not be considered as the submission date. The time of receipt of the complete applications at our office in Islamabad is the cutoff, will be the considered as the submission date and time. The checklist of the submission documents, once again, in the technical proposal, the past experience of the applicant organization, experience of the lead trainers, facilitators, experts, experience of co-trainers, co-facilitators, experience of alternate lead trainers, and perhaps the most important part is the scope and sequence proposed for the trainings. Financial proposal, it has 4 different sheets, which are the guidance notes, summary of costs, training content development costs, and then the training costs. Make sure each of these sheets is printed and signed and stamped before you dispatch these to us. And the third thing is that copy all of these documents in a USB. Make sure you run a virus scan before you copy these documents to the USB. And please include this USB with the technical proposal. A few other points. The applicants are free to propose the lead trainers from anywhere in Pakistan. All of the training venues are planned for Islamabad at this point in time, unless there is something very compelling, such as a lockdown in Islamabad. We do not plan on moving these trainings away from Islamabad. So all of these trainings are planned in Islamabad. The training providers are free to propose the lead trainers from anywhere in Pakistan. And while submitting your technical proposal, you are requested to indicate the place of usual residence of their proposed lead trainers and facilitators. If your lead trainer or facilitator is not based in Islamabad, we'll be happy to pay for the transport, logistic, and stay of the persons of the lead trainers for the duration of the training as per the Hope 87 policies. The applicants are not required to budget for these costs separately. And the same rule will apply that if the trainings are shifted to a venue outside of Islamabad on need basis, and in that case, if your trainers are in Islamabad, Hope 87 will cover the travel costs for all of the trainers. I hope this, just make sure that you do not budget any travel costs for your trainers. However, within the city travel costs, for example, if your lead trainer is already based in Islamabad, then the in-city travel cost is the responsibility of either the trainer or the organization themselves. Hope 87 will not provide any in-city travel costs. Just make sure that all the trainers and the co-trainers, co-facilitators, note takers, the whole team that you are proposing, they are all clear from the NECTA and the UN sanctions lists of proscribed persons and organizations. And like I said at the beginning, this meeting is being recorded at the moment, and it will be also uploaded to the Hope 87 YouTube channel. In case you have joined late or if you have missed part of the discussion, you are free to listen to the discussions at a later stage. So that's all from me, and I'm happy to take any questions now. Ms. Rukhniyaz Khan, first question, please extend the deadline. Unfortunately, not possible. Shahid Samad Khan, what will be the duration of the daily trainings? 9 to 5. This is what we are proposing at this point in time. This is what we have in mind. However, the training providers are free to propose anything different as part of their methodology, and we'll consider that during the evaluation process. Is it mandatory to submit training outlines for all 6 capacities, each covering 5 days at this stage, or is a single 5-day training outline sufficient? What we are asking for is that when you look at the UN Women Toolbox, where the 6 capacities are explained in detail, each of the capacity is divided into further subcategories. What we are asking all the training providers is to provide a scope and sequencing for those subcategories of each capacity. We are not expecting a training outline at this point in time. However, if you want to submit, it's totally up to you.
Shoaib Saab, I have just one simple question related to the budget. I just want to ask that while we are making the budget, would we include the cost of boarding and lodging, venue cost, and other in our proposal, or that will be borne by your organization?
The boarding, lodging, the logistical arrangements of the venue for the trainees is Hope 87 responsibility. The training providers do not need to budget for that.
Sure, sir. One of these questions. I would like to know that who will select the NPOs, women collectives, and youth, the trainees from these organizations? Would it be the responsibility of the trainers, or it will be the responsibility of the OPT?
If I understood your question correctly, you are asking that who will select the NPOs and the
yes, NPOs. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
We have already started that process. We have made a lot of headway in that. We are targeting to select a total of 10 NPOs. At this point in time, we have already selected 8 of these NPOs. The selection process for the remaining 2 is underway. It will take us some time. The selection process for the women collectives and the youth collectives has also kicked off. and hopefully by the end of September, well before the first round of trainings in October, the selection would be would have progressed fairly well.
That's fine. Fine. Thank you.
Just one small question from my side too, that as you know that capacity of the NPOs, women collective and youth collective is different. We can assume that NPOs capacities are better than women collectives and youth collectives. So, would it be possible that we can develop two sets of module, keeping in mind the capacities of the NPOs or women collectives and youth collectives, or you would prefer a single module for all of them?
We would a very good question, and we would like to see this as part of your proposal. That based on your experiences, we would like to see this as part of your proposals. That what are you proposing? That should it be the same? Should it be different? So what we would like to see your thoughts on this, and we'll take this into consideration during the selection process. Okay. We have a question from Ms. Momina Dar. Let me first answer those. There are two questions in the chat box, and three actually. Let me first address those, and then I'll come to the rest of the participants if there are any other questions. Ms. Momina, your question is the leadership capacity and the gender capacity training are split, two batches at one time and one separately. Is there a possibility of similar split with other capacities? Okay, very good question. Like I mentioned, at this point in time, we have already selected 8 NPOs. And the process for the selection of the remaining 2 NPOs is ongoing. There is a possibility that we might not be able to complete the selection process for these remaining 2 NPOs ahead of the dates proposed for the first batch of trainings, which is the 21st of October. Therefore, in fact, what we are expecting is that their selection will be complete sometime in October. And before they start sitting in these, they attending these trainings, we need to orient them. We need to bring those organizations up to speed about what the project is about, what are going to be their roles and responsibilities, etc. Therefore, we are expecting that these remaining 2 NPOs will join the rest of the NPOs for the trainings with effect from December. And therefore, for these one group of trainings is proposed separately for leadership and gender. But this split for the other batches is not possible because we want to complete the complete set of these 6 trainings before the year 2 of Project Live, so that we can move ahead with the funding part of the project as well. Does that answer your question, Ms. Momina? The other question is only one training consultant will be awarded the project, or the project might be divided among more than one training consultant based on your selection criteria. At this point in time, we are targeting to award this training component to one consultant. What we will do is we'll sign a 1-year contract, and if everything goes well, if the training provider, the selecting training provider is successful in delivering of the trainings of the first year from October to May, then the contract will be extended for the refresher trainings for the subsequent years. So at this point in time, we are only looking for one training partner.
One short question from my side, that what about the linguistic abilities of the participant? I believe they are from FATA and KP. Would they be fluent in understanding of the Urdu at least? Or the trainer, we should include trainers that also have the ability to speak Pashto.
The organizations that we have selected already, the non-profit organizations, all of them are from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, but not all of them are from the Pashto-speaking belt. There's at least one organization from the Hazara belt as well. The rest of the other two NPOs, again, are either going to be from KP or Balochistan. Um, all of the participants have a fair level of understanding of English. They have a good understanding of Urdu as well. And majority of them speak Pashto, but not all of them do not speak Pashto. I hope that answers your question. What are the expected roles and responsibilities of youth and women collectives at grassroots levels? The youth and women collectives under our localization approach are responsible for a lot of community interactions, for organizing the community, for a two-way communication with the community, for coming up with the community level or village level as per the local context, because our regions are both urban, semi-urban, and rural areas. These can be community development planning, village development planning, complaint response mechanisms, etc. So these are the broader roles of the youth and women collectives at the grassroots levels.
Assalamu alaikum, Shoaib sir.
Ji, walaikum assalam.
I have a little question. It's about the timelines. Apart from pressing timelines, as the winning consultant would need to submit training modules 15 days before each batch. So are there any other anticipated challenges or risks that we should be aware of? Thank you.
I don't see any of these risks or challenges. I think the training provider might feel a bit squeezed around the first batch of trainings, which are taking place from the 21st of October. Working backwards, what we are expecting is that the training content, the training modules, presentations, etc., whatever needs to be printed, is available to the Hope 87 team around the 5th of October. And realizing this time frame, we are targeting that we finalize the selection of the training service provider close to 20th of September. So that they have at least 15 days for the development of the first modules. And from there onwards, I believe, they have plenty of time to do this for all of the remaining capacities.
And Shoaib Sahab, actually, if we specifically talk about the outcome of any of the training, what is the expectation of your organization? Because when I go through your document, in the long run, you are willing to see these NPOs making project at the community level for funding from your organization. So what I understand is that at the end of the training session, your organization will also be expecting that they should have a hands-on training on all these things. So what is your expectation on this?
Our expectation is that and this is mentioned somewhere up there as well, that um, through these trainings, we don't want these to be trainings alone. We want these trainings to be converted into very practical, doable action plans. And after each set of these trainings, for example, at the end of management capacity training, the organization has a very doable, actionable action plan in hand to improve their capacities. And this action plan is not going to be a constant for every organization. Every partner is different, which you can probably already see if you have looked at the initial training assessment. Each of the organization is at a different level, and a customized action plan developed by the organizations themselves at the end of these trainings is available to them for each of these capacities. And each of these action plan will be contributing to an overall organizational development plan. And this is their pathway to progress from, let's say, a startup to a developing organization, and then to the next level of a consolidating organization, or to the next level of a functional organization over the project duration of 5 years.
Thank you.
Hello, I hope I'm audible. So I had a couple of questions. Can I proceed? Am I audible?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So what I had in mind is looking at the schedule of the trainings, and based on my experience, is that when we are dealing with, there's a fellow participant who said that, and they rightly said it, that for NPOs and for collectives, there should be two different modules. But another thing is that once we finish, for example, the adaptive capacity training, then there should be some sort of feedback from participants on the alignment of the content with their strategic priorities. So are we planning some, such exercise between these trainings, or is it up to the consultant organization? That was my first question. The second question was that I was thinking that there are 2 rounds of training. So is Hope 87 planning some sort of midline evaluation for the first round of training before entering into the second round of training, or the consulting firm should do that?
Thank you very much. The Hope 87 will be responsible for collecting a lot of the feedback and the training needs assessments for the refresher trainings. The training needs assessment is for at the outset of the project has been done on one of the tools which we developed, and this tool is called the Participatory Organizational Capacity Assessment.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
The tool has already been shared, and the data collected, which has not yet been analyzed, the raw data has been shared already. At the end of these trainings, Hope 87 will again on an annual basis or a 6-monthly basis, these are timelines which will be decided with the training provider, that we conduct the training needs assessment again. Also, we will be monitoring the progress on the action plans, what is working, what are the weaknesses. So there will be consultations with the training service provider around, for example, maybe around the refinement of the tool, on improvement of the tools, to make these training needs assessments. But all of this data collection, information collection will be the responsibility of Hope 87. And therefore, the training service provider does not need to budget any personnel separately for these tasks.
Right. Sorry.
Also, around the midterm evaluation. A midterm evaluation is planned at the end of year 3 of the project. So this means that the first round of the 5-day trainings would have been completed, and 2 rounds of refresher trainings would have been completed. And at that stage, we are planning a midterm evaluation.
Right. One more question. I read somewhere in the TORs that there was a mention of action plans, and then there was a mention of networking. Working on similar capacity building projects, what we have learned is that when you are working with CSOs, I mean, if this question can be out of the scope of this particular assignment, but it eventually has to do with the larger objective of the project. Because when we build capacities of CSOs around these areas, and then when we give them funds, sometimes what they struggle with is their registration with the government authorities to implement those action plans, because organizations do develop very sound, very effective action plans, but then they don't get the right amount of, not right amount of, they don't get the NOCs, MOUs with the relevant government authorities, and those action plans are not translated into practical field activities. So that is one challenge in the larger project objective, which I can foresee. The other thing was that I wanted to ask that what does Hope 87 has in mind when it says that after training there should be networking between these organizations?
Your point around the regulatory permissions, we are very cognizant of that. And therefore, well before the funding part of the proposal kicks in, which is expected in, the fundings are expected to start in April 2026. We are already started working with our selected partners that they start getting these regulatory permissions now. So that we do not run into snags when the actual monies are made available to these partners. I hope that answers your question. I'll just need a 5. Okay, I'm back. And around the networking, that's an important element, for the success of any partner, that, they need to be able to network, to partner, to cooperate with a lot of others. And when you look at some of the tools in the toolbox, the UN Women toolbox, there's quite a bit of emphasis on building those capacities as well.
Okay, all right, I get it. Thank you.
Are there any budgetary constraints or guidelines we should be aware of? Will there be room for flexibility within the budget if additional work is required? Number one, I think when you look at the financial proposal format, it is very, very detailed. It's quite elaborate, divided into, a lot of training individually. So the additional work that comes to our mind is, that there could be additional number of groups or batches. If that is the case, we have a unit rate for each group or each batch. And, obviously that will be covered in the contractual conditions. We don't want our training partners to be working for free. And at the same time, the partners don't get paid for what they don't deliver. It's a two-way thing. We are not expecting that the partners would be expected to deliver something for which they are not paid. One last point around the financial formats. Please do budget in any inflationary trends, cost escalations over the period of the next 4 to 5 years. It is for this reason that in the financial format, we are asking the unit rate for each of these separate dates. You are free to propose different rates for each of those um, uh, trainings or groups. For year one, you might quote a different rate. For year two, you might quote a different rate. It's all up to you. But these rates have to be valid for the entire duration of the project. That is, if I remember correctly, the last trainings would be ending in December 2028. So once agreed, once locked, there will be no room for any enhancement of these costs down the line. Okay, if there are no other questions, I thank everyone for their time and for taking the time out to join the meeting today. Um, uh, uh, I don't see any questions that require the need for a corrigendum to be published. So best of luck with your proposals preparation, and we look forward to receiving your proposals. Once again, the deadline is 12th of September, 5 p.m. to be received in hard copy at our office in Islamabad. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you very much, Shoaib Saab. Allah Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you very much, sir. Allah Hafiz. By what time this will be uploaded on your channel?
By today evening.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.